Hello, my name is Georgianne Ford with the Alpha Center for Divorce Mediation. And today we have returning one of our attorney mediators, Christina Lombardo-Zaun. Christina, thanks for coming back. And I understand today you're going to talk about something that you've dealt with before yourself, and that has to do with financial aid for college students with divorced parents.
Yes, and I know we probably, for those parents who have college-age children, you're still probably rejoicing in the fact that you didn't have to think about the FAFSA all summer, but guess what? It's FAFSA time again. So what I wanted to do was write about it and talk about it because, I learned some things the hard way, and I'm hoping that this information will maybe help some parents out there not make the mistake that I made.
That's great.
Or mistakes. So the FAFSA is called the Free Application for Federal Student Aid, okay? But everybody calls it the FAFSA. And most colleges, this is how you apply for student aid. It could come in the form of grants, student loans, okay? And so this is how the colleges, it's kind of like how they streamline the process and how they determine eligibility, okay? Now, I put in my blog, I warn people because the FAFSA sounds like, oh, it's just this cute little application. It's not, okay? It's a monster, and it takes more than the hour that they say it takes to complete.
Already great information for everybody.
Yes.
That's a big heads up.
So yeah, you want to have your coffee or your wine. You might want to have some snacks, have your cozies on, and just hunker down and spend the evening with FAFSA. So aside from that, who has to complete the FAFSA when you have parents that are divorced? So I found this information to be really helpful. And especially I went through it. So, firsthand knowledge was also good. But when you have divorced parents, only one parent has to fill out the FAFSA. Now, parents are probably sitting there like, okay, I'm going to make the other parent do it. But there are reasons why certain parents should complete the FAFSA. Typically, if there's a salary discrepancy, like a big one, right? A big difference between the salaries. Well, then the lower paid parent should apply for financial aid because they might be in a better position to get more from the government.
Makes sense.
And potentially free money from the government. Not always the case though. So I have a couple myths here that I think people misunderstand about the FAFSA. The first thing is, and I'm looking at some of my notes because it's a little confusing, but the definitions that the FAFSA uses are different from the legal definitions that us attorneys use.
I thought that was interesting.
So yeah, the FAFSA only cares about whether the student's parents are living together. So you could have a couple that might be divorced but are living together.
Right.
If that's the case, both parents have to complete the FAFSA. And when I say complete the FAFSA, what I'm saying is both parents have to divulge their financial information, which means the FAFSA is going to count mom's income, dad's income, or parents' income.
But that's only because we're living together even though we're divorced?
Correct. Now, if you are married, but you're living in two separate residences, the FAFSA will only require one parent's sources of income. Completely backwards, isn't it?
Right.
But that's a good thing. In a way, if you're separated or living separate and apart, it sort of benefits the family because you only have to use one parent's, financial documents. Now, whose parents who do you pick? Well, if the child is living with both parents and they have shared custody, like 50-50, technically it should be the parent with whom the child resides more than the 50%. And with 365 days a year, it's going to tip the scale. Even if it's one additional day per year, technically that should be the parent that does the filing. Or if the parents are sharing the child 50-50, right? And let's say it's 50-50 down the middle. Whoever has provided more financial support over the last 12 months would be the parent that should complete the FAFSA. Okay.
So can you choose, or you said or just one?
Well, you can choose. I don't necessarily know that the FAFSA comes back and audits.
Right.
I have heard that they do audit, so you really should follow the rules. But sometimes that is, determining the residency and the support amounts can be a little tricky. So you just do your best with what you have.
Okay.
Now, what counts as income? You'll see that there's a lot of things that count as income, but one thing that people have to understand is child support and alimony counts as income for the FAFSA.
Boy, that's important.
Yeah. So, one spouse might not make a lot, but if they're getting child support and alimony, they might be on equal footing with the other spouse or other parent. So you got to look at those numbers carefully. Now, in addition, there are deadlines. And this is where I was like, oh, no problem. So it used to be January 1st was when the FAFSA would open up the gates for parents to apply for financial aid for the upcoming academic year. Now, right now, we just started the 21-22 academic year, but what we're applying for is going to be the 22-23 academic year. So for next fall. So we're starting the process now. The rules changed not too long ago. And instead of January 1st, the opening day for FAFSA submission is October 1st. That's coming up.
For next fall.
Right. So October 1st of 2021, we can complete the FAFSA. And that will be for the 22-23 academic year. It's fun when you're in the midst of the application because it's so confusing. So you might want to write it down on a piece of paper in case you're drinking more than one glass of wine, because then you'll get all confused. But in all seriousness, it's, you have to make sure that you have the right documentation. So some of the things they ask for, and you want to make sure that you have this information handy, because I will tell you, when you go into the app and you try and do the application, I think there was one round where I was kicked out 4 or 5 times. And then I had to go back and start over.
Oh, no.
And it is really frustrating. So you want to make sure you have your taxes. You want to make sure you have W-2s. You want to make sure that you have bank statements, records of investments, if applicable, records of untaxed income, if applicable. If your child is a dependent, you're going to need their financial information too. And
I'm just going to ask.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10, you're going to have it ready. So you're applying October 1st. You're going to need your 2020 tax return. Now that kind of sounds weird because you need a 2020 tax return for 22-23 academic year, but that was your last completed tax return. So that's how they do that. Not to confuse anybody further, but that's for federal aid, okay? There are some colleges and universities out there that are going to require additional information above and beyond the FAFSA. One such thing is called the CSS profile. It's this college scholarship service profile.
Is this for additional funding?
This is for additional funding, and it's for, I believe, non-federal financial aid. A lot of tongue twisters in this one. So what I would suggest is for parents to contact the school directly, contact the financial aid office, be friends with them. And make nice with them, because some of the stuff that's on the website will be outdated. And so getting in touch with your local counselor, they can tell you what forms you need, what you're missing. And you want to make sure that you have everything in by their deadlines. So I spoke of the FAFSA deadline for opening day. Well, the last day you could submit the FAFSA is June 30th of next year.
But you're still using your tax returns from 2021 because it's for
2020.
20, right? Okay.
2020. But you can basically have from October 1st to June 30th to complete this FAFSA.
Is it first come, first serve?
Well, so the way schools do it is they will disperse financial aid on a first come, first serve basis.
Mm.
So this is what I learned the hard way. I waited until the last minute because I thought I have time.
Right.
No, you really don't have time. If you're on the cusp of getting financial aid, you really need to apply in October. Okay, there's almost inevitably something missing. So you will have to go back and do some extra work to complete your application. So start early, be prepared, have everything in front of you. They say an hour. I would literally give yourself 2 hours, 3 hours, just block that time away so that you can work on it.
Right.
And then once you have that done, then you can work on the CSS profile. And that is on a college by college basis. So not every college or university will require that. Some will. And if they do, you do have to complete it. And it's very similar to the FAFSA.
My goodness, but it's for extra funding if it's available.
Yes, exactly. And it's actually, there's some other benefits. I really only spent a couple minutes talking about this, but this is a ginormous topic. And there are, look at this as like a primer. Like we just dipped our toe in the water, and, there's so much more information out there. The CSS profile is actually a really positive tool for families because it can help you find more money. Yeah.
If this is just dipping our toe in, I mean, we are walking away going, need to apply now. It's October.
Yes.
Like that was your big message. I hear it because wait. One of the things that I wondered about was, is there a specific income level that rules you out of this funding?
Yes.
Okay.
There is. There's some things that are called employee family contribution, your EFC. And depending upon the income, your EFC will be at a certain level. And each college has a cutoff. But it's different because every school is different. There are some schools that have endowments and they have all kinds of scholarships. So, your best bet is to at least throw yourself into the mix and see if anything comes your way.
Such great ideas. I mean, maybe we'd think we wouldn't get it, so we wouldn't even apply.
Right.
So helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. If this is dipping in, we certainly are walking away with some terrific pieces you planted for us to move forward with this, especially with the fact that you've lived through it.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, for separated couples or divorced couples, this is sort of like a little hidden gem. Divorce is difficult. It's tough, but, this is an opportunity where they're like, okay, hey, you know what, we're going to be realistic here and try and help you out. And there's some families out there that really do well with this financially.
Great. Christine, thanks so much for coming and introducing us to these ideas that we wouldn't necessarily know. You hear about it, you hear stories about it, but you kind of simplified it if it's possible.
I try.
So thank you. We hope to have you back again, and thanks for your time.
Thank you.